You just got a brand new PlayStation 5, but what should you do with your old PlayStation 4? We're going to figure that out in this video. Hello and welcome back to Gears and Tech. Today we're going to solve a problem that many of you guys are having as the PlayStation 5 becomes more and more available to more and more people. Sony has spent a lot of time trying to get inventory high in stores so that everyone can get their hand on a PlayStation 5 console. This year, Sony hopes to break the record for most consoles sold in 1 year with the PlayStation 5. That means more and more of you are getting your hands on a PlayStation 5 and you're stuck with one question. What if I have an old PlayStation 4? In this case, we've got a PlayStation 4 Pro. Is it so old and so tired that it's time to get rid of it? Well, no, it's still got tons of life left. In fact, we made a video a few years ago saying, don't even consider updating because the PlayStation 4 Pro is such a good console. Still, at this time, this is a very, very capable console. Just because you got a PlayStation 5 doesn't mean it's time to just throw this thing out. We're gonna cover some of the things you can do with your PlayStation 5 and hopefully help you make the best decision for you. Now, the first and obvious solution is to just sell it. You know, many people, as soon as they get a new console, they just sell the old one. And I was one of those people. I sold my console as soon as I got the shiny new toy. And this generation was no different. I've actually had a number of PlayStations go through my hands because I just said, I don't really need it. So if you're not one of those nostalgic people and you're just like, whatever, I could use the cash, you could certainly clean up your PlayStation 4 and then sell it. If you're looking to sell your console, there's a couple things you're gonna wanna do. Make sure that you log into your console at least one last time, wipe out all your personal information and perform a factory reset. That way, whoever's buying the new console will have that new console experience, but they also won't have it locked down with your stuff still on it, or even worse, if you require a password to log into your console, they're gonna be asking you to share that password so they can even use the thing that they just bought. You want a factory reset so that there's no question. I personally would actually reboot it after the reset just to make sure that everything's been reset and that there's no personal information on there, no credit card, no nothing. You don't want any of that on a console that you're gonna sell. Something else that I'll usually do is go for a walk around my house, look for all the games that I never play or never plan to play again, and create almost like a console bundle. So I'll throw all the games on there. It adds value for the person buying it. It makes it sell a little bit faster, but it's games that you're not gonna use anyway. And especially if they're like pack-in titles that aren't worth a whole lot, then there's no skin off your back. Nobody's coming to buy that game for $5 off of you anyway. So you might as well just throw it in with the console, makes them happier, and it gets rid of some e-waste from your house. Always also a good idea to include an extra controller if possible. If you have 2 or 3 controllers, you might as well sell it with it because your PlayStation 5 is mostly only going to support your DualSense controller anyway, and those PlayStation 4 controllers are just going to be garbage to you. Now, if you're not looking to sell it, then obviously the other option is to keep it. So we're going to cover some reasons why you might want to keep that console around just a little bit longer. The first one and most important one for me is the nostalgia effect. As I already said, I was one of those guys who just, as soon as I got the new shiny console, I'd sell the old one. I've been around for a few console generations, and at some point, I started to get that nostalgia bug. And it started with this console right here. A few years ago, I was doom scrolling Facebook Marketplace and I saw the original Game Boy DMG model, and the guy was selling it for $100 with the Tetris pack-in title, just like this. And I just had this burning urge to get my hands on that console and to hold it in my hands again, hear that iconic bling sound as it booted up. And it just, all these memories came flooding back. And I knew I had to have it, so I bought it. But I couldn't just stop there. I actually went and started to purchase all of the old consoles of my childhood and my early adulthood, to the point where I have a pretty big retro console collection. My PlayStation 4 is no different. I know that nostalgia bug's gonna hit me again, and so my actual console, I've packed up back in the box, and I have the Black Ops 3 console. In fact, in previous videos, you guys saw it up over here because it's just been sitting there reminding me of the good old days. Now this particular console, the PlayStation 4 Pro, this is my daughter's console, and she recently upgraded to PlayStation 5 when I upgraded to PlayStation 5 Slim, so we had that trickle down effect. This one is going to my son, who's currently using a PS4 Slim, and he's upgrading to the PS4 Pro. So there's that trickle down effect in our home, but we're going to keep it around. I will not be selling this console because it's just worth it to keep it around just for the memories for me. If that's you, you can certainly just keep it around and just look at it. You don't even have to turn it on. Just look at it and remember all the good old times from gaming all through the night and all the experiences that you had over the last 10 years with that console. If nostalgia alone is not a good enough reason for you to keep your console, then consider this. The PlayStation 4 was updated when the PlayStation 5 came out with the ability to use remote play. That allows you to have your PlayStation 5 console in a different room and play it on your PlayStation 4. It uses the internet in your home to be able to stream those games to your PlayStation 4. So you could actually set up your PlayStation 4 in another room, in your living room, in your bedroom, maybe in your bathroom. Maybe you could take it out to the cottage or to your lake property or your other home or your girlfriend's house or your parents' house and set it up there. It would give you access to the entire PlayStation 4 library plus the PlayStation 5 library utilizing remote play. I'm not going to get into details of how to set up remote play, but basically it allows you to use your PlayStation 4 as the window to your PlayStation 5 and play anywhere where you have a stable internet connection. And kind of along that idea, you could keep your PlayStation 4 as a traveling companion. You see, the PlayStation 5 is a rather new piece of tech, and it's something that you don't want to be banging around or traveling around with. Your PlayStation 4 is probably seen some things, so it's not going to be a big deal if you take it in your suitcase on vacation with you, set it up at VRBO, connect it to Wi-Fi, and again, you can use the same remote play service that you're using at your parents' house, your cottage, your living room, wherever. You can use it while on vacation as well. Plus, you still have access to the full PlayStation 4 library of games, and it'll help pass the time if it's like a rainy day, or you just need some downtime to get caught up on your most recent games. It does make an excellent traveling companion, especially if you've got the PlayStation 4 Slim, because it's even smaller than this. The Pro is actually quite big when I compare it to the PlayStation 5 Slim. You can see it's, footprint wise, it is still a little bit smaller, and it does travel a lot better even than the PlayStation 5 Slim. I've covered that in different videos on how to travel with your gaming console, and it's just, it gets harder when you get the weird shape of the PlayStation 5. Something else that may not be immediately obvious is to hack it. So there is a pretty alive and active hacking scene for the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5. PlayStation 5 is still just emerging, but the PlayStation 4 scene is actually pretty good. Now, if you've been using your PlayStation 4 up until recently, odds are it's been updated to a high enough firmware that you can't hack it right now. So you do have two options. You can pack this up in a box, forget about it for a while, and then wait until a newer hack is released, or it's not ideal, but you could sell this console, take the money you get from this, and go on eBay and buy a hackable PlayStation 4. Now, what's hackable? The best one is one running firmware 9.0 or lower. If it's running anything higher than 9.0, it might be hackable, but it depends on exactly which firmware it is that it has on it. So you will need to do a little bit of research. If the firmware is 9.0 or lower, it's definitely hackable, and that is the most sought after console. Now, it's going to cost you a little bit more money if the person selling it knows that it's a hackable console. But they are out there, and you could take the money you get from this to buy that and almost become even, or maybe pay slightly a little bit more. But once you have that hacked console, it opens up a world for all kinds of possibilities in retro emulation, as well as current gen backups. You may be wondering, well, why don't I just hack it if I've got it, or hack my PlayStation 5? There's a lot of risk associated with running a hacked console or a jailbroken console, and that especially is true when you're playing online. You do not want to be taking a hacked console online, really ever. So if it's your primary console, I do not recommend hacking it for your daily driver. But if it's a secondary, like in this case, we've got a PlayStation 5, we've got a PlayStation 4, you could easily hack your PlayStation 4 and use that as an offline console for hacking purposes only, while your PlayStation 5 becomes your primary online console. So something to consider. If you do decide that packing up your PlayStation 4 and waiting for it to be hackable is the solution for you, before you pack it up, you're going to want to go into the settings and turn off automatic updates. You don't want to accidentally connect to the internet and update the next time you pull it out and turn it on. So disconnect from the internet, delete your internet profiles, and then also turn off automatic updating so that you have the safest storage of the console until it is time to be hacked. The other thing that you might want to do, check the firmware version of the console, write it on a piece of tape, and then stick it on the console so that, because you're going to forget. And when they come out with new hacks, all you got to do, look at your console and say, oh, this is 10.01. Oh, there's a hack for 10.01. Perfect, I'm good to go. That way you don't have to keep trying to boot it up to figure out if it is hackable. If you've decided hacking is not the solution for you, but you do want to keep it around, using a PlayStation 5 in your living room can turn a non-smart TV into a smart TV and become your media console in your main living space. Maybe you don't game there a lot, but you do want to watch services such as Netflix or Disney+. Well, the PlayStation 4 supports those services, and it would turn your living room TV into that smart TV. Also, you could potentially start looking at more party games and stuff, things that, lots of people want to play together. One of our favorites is playing Tetris. We love getting 4-player Tetris going up on the big screen, and it's a fun way to pass the time as a family. Something that you wouldn't normally have thought of doing if your PlayStation was sitting in your bedroom, because you're not inviting everyone into your bedroom. But now that it's out in the main living room, it is a great time to access all of those party games that you never really gave a thought to previously. Speaking of games, did you know that you can actually set up the same PSN account on both consoles? You no longer have to set a primary console. So the PlayStation 5 doesn't have the same settings for primary console or secondary console. Whatever account is on your PlayStation 5, if it's on your PlayStation 4, you will have access to the entire PS Plus library that you have on your PlayStation 5 on your PlayStation 4. Now there is an exception. It will not play PlayStation 5 games in your library because obviously it is not a PlayStation 5. For that you would need to use Remote Play, which would tie up your PlayStation 5 and your PlayStation 4. However, with both accounts, you can actually log in to your PlayStation 4 on a different TV, play any game you want from your PlayStation library, while a different person is logged in on the PlayStation 5 playing the exact same game. If you've got multiplayer games where you have to have 2 copies, you can actually have 2 copies from one account playing on both consoles at the same time. You can play against each other in a local or online match. Specifically, Call of Duty comes to mind. 1 copy of Call of Duty running on both consoles with 2 separate users playing with full screen. You don't have to play split screen, and online. You can play online join matches with 1 PS Plus account. Some of you might be wondering, with the backwards compatibility of the PlayStation 5, do PlayStation 4 games run better on the PlayStation 5? The short answer is yes, and even better than the PlayStation 4 Pro. So PlayStation 4 Pro introduced something called Super Sampling Mode. That's where it takes a regular PlayStation 4 game and turns it up to 11. It makes it look really good. But there was a slight performance hit that came with that. It targeted 60 frames per second, but it rarely hits it consistently. The PlayStation 5 has Super Sampling Mode 2.0. It'll take the game, make it look really, really good at a locked frame rate of 60 frames per second. So you get much more stable frame rates and all the pretty graphics at the same time. And that's true for most PlayStation 4 games. Some PlayStation 4 games even introduced PlayStation 5 graphic patches where they have higher resolution graphics specifically for PlayStation 4 games running on PlayStation 5. Your PlayStation 4 Pro cannot use those higher resolutions. PlayStation 5 can, and still push out the faster frame rates. So playing your PlayStation 4 collection on your PlayStation 5 definitely has some visual and performance improvements that you would gain even over a PlayStation 4 Pro. The decision what to do with your PlayStation 4 or your old console is always a personal one, and it's something that is up to you to decide what's best for you. In our case, we have many reasons why we keep our old consoles around. Some of those reasons were shared in this video, and I hope that helped you guys to decide what the best decision is for you. Let us know in the comments down below, what have you decided after watching this video? Are you going to be keeping your PlayStation 4? Are you going to be selling it? If you are keeping it, what's the reason you decided to keep it around for? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Hey, thanks for watching all the way to the end of this video. We hope you enjoy the content in this video, and we'd love to have you come back. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And for those subscribers who are looking for that extra special thing that you can do to support this channel, consider joining our members group. That's where we're building this community, the Gears and Tech community, where we can all enjoy content together. You'll get special perks, which we'd love for you to check out by clicking the link down below. For those of you who are just happy to watch the video, that's okay too. You can check out some of our other content right over here, where we've got some previous videos that have already been uploaded and enjoyed by many of our viewers already. We do hope to see you again. This has been Gears and Tech. Have a great day.